Okay, now I want to jump back and talk about this pattern that I talked about before where it cycles around again. So let me explain that. What that means is that we can find a major scale within a minor scale, and we can find a minor scale within a major scale. So if we took a minor scale and we started it on the third note, we would fulfill the pattern of the major scale. And likewise, if we took a minor scale and we started it, or sorry, a major scale, and we started it right here on the sixth note, we would end up with the same pattern: whole, half, whole, whole, half, whole, whole, before it cycles around again. So we can find the pattern in each one. So how is that useful to us? It's very useful to us because it points out something called relative major and relative minor. That's like saying every major scale has a sibling that is a minor scale. So there is, for every major scale, there is a minor scale that's composed of all the exact same notes. So then you think, well, I thought major scale sounded happy and minor scale sounded sad. This is true. But it really kind of depends on what you're treating as the root of the scale. Here, we're treating C as the root, and it's a C minor scale. But if we went, so let's see, it's a minor scale. If we went to the third note and we treated that as the root, it would be a major scale. So let's actually do that. So let's get rid of this for a minute. So here's the third note, D sharp. So let's treat D sharp as the root of the scale. So to do that, all I'm going to do is take these two notes, I'm going to flip them up an octave and put them over here. The C is duplicated, so let's just do that. So now I have, I need one more note. I didn't duplicate the root, D sharp. So now I have D sharp, F, G, G sharp, A sharp, C, D, and D sharp. Now, if any of you know anything about music theory, or if any real music theory people are evaluating this, you are stirring in your seats because of the way that this is spelled. D sharps, G sharp, A sharp. This should really be spelled in flats with E flat, etc. But I don't care. We're just going to go with it as is because Ableton always favors sharps. I'm not sure why. Probably because the symbol is easier to make. Okay, so let's see if it works. Whole step, half step, whole step, whole step, whole step, half step. That, my friends, is our pattern for a major scale. I didn't change any notes. I just am starting on a different one. So let's hear it. Sounds just like a major scale, right? But if I take these two notes, go down an octave, pull them back here. Oops, I did the same thing again. I need to take the C all the way back down. And now I play that starting on a C, it's a minor scale. So that means that C minor has a relative major of D sharp or E flat. So all the same notes are in both scales. C minor and D sharp major have the same exact notes. But it's going to sound major or minor and be major or minor, actually, depending on what note we started on. Now let's take that one step further, and let's remember that C major, let's go back to a C major scale here. I'm just going to raise my third, sixth, and seventh. So now I'm on a C major scale. Okay, C major. Now remember that C major scale is all the white notes of our keyboard. That's C major. So if we found the relative minor of C major, it ought to be all of the white notes on the keyboard, but a minor scale. Now, I just told you that every major scale has a relative minor, a sibling, a brother or a sister that is the minor scale. And every minor scale has a brother or sister that is a major scale. So C major, we need to find the relative minor of it. So let's go back to my pattern here. So we're on a major scale. If we start our pattern right here of the major scale, then the minor scale pattern will emerge. Whole, half, whole, half, whole. That's the same as this. Whole, half, whole, half, whole. So I start the minor scale on the 6th, and I get the major scale on the 6th, which is this note, the 6th scale degree, and I get a minor scale. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's A. So A minor must be the relative major of, the relative minor of C major. Let me try that one more time. A minor must be the relative minor of C major. So C major and A minor go hand in hand. Let's have a listen. So I'm on C major here. Let's take all these notes. I'm going to leave off the A intentionally this time. I flip them up an octave. I'm going to put them over, and then I'm going to have to add the A back in. Now I have all the white notes starting on A, but it's a minor scale, because A minor is the relative to C major. Now, if you don't want to deal with remembering this goofy pattern here, then all you have to remember is to find the relative minor of a major key started on the 6th scale degree. So any scale, let's say we're on D major. So I'm just going to throw a D here. Okay, here's a D. Let's get rid of all this stuff. Let's say we're in D major. And I want to know what the minor is. I need to go to the 6th scale degree. So I need to go up the pattern of the major scale. Whole, half. I don't really even care what these notes are. I'm just counting the pattern. Whole, half. So the pattern holds, so that's a D major scale. Now if I go to the 6th scale degree, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. B. B minor is the relative minor of D major. All the same notes in both scales. Now if you want a shorthand way to do this, let's slide this over just a touch, still a D major scale, and we can actually just go down 3, right? Because we could start here, well, down to 1, 2, 3. Let's count from the root. So if we go down 3, we get the relative minor of a major scale. And move that over, still D major. Let's convert this to a minor scale. So D minor, I just have to take those 3 notes down. Now I'm on a D minor scale. So again, to convert a major scale to a minor scale, I just lower the 3rd, the 6th, and the 7th, which is what I just did. Now I'm on D minor. What's the relative major of D minor? Well, all I really have to do is go to the 3rd scale degree. So when you're on a minor scale, you go up 3 notes, you go to the 3rd, and that's the start of your relative major. When you're on a major scale and you want to find the minor scale, you go down 3, and that will tell you the relative minor. Make sense? It's a little confusing to think about, the up 3, down 3. But just remember, relative major and relative minor have all the same notes. And the chord progressions can be a little bit different, but all the same notes emerge. So F will be the relative minor scale, the relative major scale of D minor. So we're looking at a minor scale. F is going to be our relative major. Okay, so now we know what relative major and relative minor are. This applies to scales, and it also applies to keys. So when we're in a key, that means that we're using the chord progression from that key. Sometimes it can be really ambiguous when we're analyzing a song, whether or not we're in the major or the relative minor of the song, depending on the section of the song we're looking at. So a song might sound like it's in C major, but then we might look at the chords for the chorus, and it's all based around A minor. And then we're like, okay, well, it's in the relative minor. So whether you call it the song C major or A minor, in a way doesn't matter too much, depending on If you're just focusing in on one section, it could be either. If you're looking at the whole song, usually you can find things that would make you say it's in C major or A minor, but those are things we don't care about. All we really care about is how does it sound, and does it sound good? So whether or not we call something in C major or A minor or any relative key doesn't matter to us. What matters is, does it sound good? But when you're analyzing things, this is another thing to think about. Do you want to go to the relative minor, use the relative major, whatever you want to do? So keep this in mind, this relative scale and relative key pattern.